Hey, another Wild Food UK video. We're by the seaside today, so we're going to show you a few nice wild edible seashore plants with special guest appearances from the very colourful Matt Vernon, Bonnie and Jago, and Ben Spice here, plus Charlotte and Sophie. Hope you enjoy the video.
Guys, something to warm me up and cheer me up on this cold February morning. We have here two species of plantain. Now, on our walks, we usually talk about the most common plantains. So, ribwort plantain, and then greater plantain, or wider plantain, or some people call it broadleaf plantain. We find those in like meadows and parks, sometimes even the pavement. But right here by the seaside, we will usually see two other species. Now, one of them, my favorite plantain, because you know, the plantains aren't known for being particularly tasty, you know, but there's an exception in the family, this beautiful species, and this is stag's horn plantain. You can see the leaves with all these divisions, almost looking like one of the plants in the carrot family in a way, or almost like rocket, still growing from a rosette like all the other plantains. And this is quite succulent, you know. A lot of the plants that go by the seaside are succulent, and this is something that this plant has. And unlike the other plantains, it has a lovely flavor, you know. Mild but kind of salty, savory, really nice. Goes well as a garnish in a salad. And lovely texture, without that strong bitterness of the other plantains. Okay, you might find it inland, further away from the coast, and if you go to continental Europe, you'll find it inland as well quite often. But one that you only see by the coast is the one next to it. Okay, this is sea plantain. Looks almost like some succulent blade of grass. Again, as I said, coastal plants tend to be quite succulent. You can see the flowers, very similar to the flowers of greater plantain. They can extend a little bit further out and then go up. And then you have the seed pods, very similar. And you can use these seed pods the same way that you would use the seed pods of greater plantain. But unfortunately, while this one has a lovely texture, quite succulent, the flavor is rather disappointing, like the other plantains. A little bit bitter towards the end, although maybe not as much. But, you know, good mixed with other stuff, but by itself, it's not particularly brilliant. Sea plantain, Plantago maritima. So maritima, by the sea, and stag's horn plantain, also known as buckstorm plantain, Plantago coronopus. Okay, so I don't know if these have the same medicinal properties as the other plantains, so you should stick to those if you want to use them for that purpose. But if you're collecting edibles by the seaside, these are common plants worth picking.
Hi, here we've got one of my favourite coastal plants. It's got a bit of a funny name. It's called scurvy grass. It used to be packed into barrels and salted and kept for long sea voyages for the alleged vitamin C content. Lemons and oranges are a bit better for that. But it was one of the plants used in the fight against scurvy. It's actually part of brassica family, so your cabbages and your mustards. And you can see that if you look closely at the flower there. This one, my dear partner, was the first one I experimented on him with. And I said to him, do you like mustard? And he said, yes, I like mustard. And he didn't mean that strong. He thought I meant one of those nice little mild chopped ones. This one is very much a blow off the inside of your mouth flavour with it, but because it's got these beautiful little almost heart-shaped like leaves, it's quite good with other strong fishy flavours. And I don't know if we can find any of the older ones it's this bright green, but as the leaf dies, it starts to draw the chlorophyll out. And so if you find an old one, you'll find that the leaf is nearly entirely purple, looking like little purple hearts blooming out of the coast or the cliffs here.
Hi everyone, so just going to introduce you to this plant now, which is sea beet, or Beta vulgaris subspecies maritima, which is a sort of very dark green, shiny, spinach looking leaf. It's kind of thick and sort of succulent, as we've said probably on some of the other plants, like quite common for some of the sea plants. And it has a really nice kind of juicy, succulent, slightly salty flavour to it, and I would use that like spinach basically. So you can use it raw, kind of chopped up in salads, or you can chuck it into other dishes that you're doing. Obviously it would go nice as a texture in all sorts of different dishes, kind of curries, oriental stuff. So really good. It's actually, interestingly, is the sort of biological precursor for both beetroot and chard, or Swiss chard, but still growing wild all around our coasts around the UK. It's an absolutely cracking edible. I think in terms of lookalikes, there's nothing poisonous you could run into trouble with. Really, the closest lookalikes for this sort of spear-shaped leaf is some of the oryx or oryches. I've been asking around to see how different people say it. We've all read it in books, and none of us are too sure exactly how you're supposed to say that. But there's a group of plants called the oryx or the oryches, which again are all tasty edible plants. So if you were to mistake sea beet for one of those, you wouldn't be running into trouble. But they're worth learning about in their own right, because they're nice and tasty and similarly succulent. So yeah, another great coastal plant.
What have you got to eat there, Bonnie? What have you got? Sea Smarties?
No. Shells from the fjord of the beach.
Okay, got some Pennywort here, growing by the sea, which I've never actually tried before. So let's see if it affects the flavour at all. See if it's salty. No, it's not salty at all. It's actually a little bit sweeter than how I normally try it, although Pennywort does vary very much from site to site. I think I prefer it by the sea.
Lots of edible plants on the coast here at all times of the year. Now, this one looks a little bit nondescript. Most people will walk past this without realising that it's even there. Here we've got these fleshy little finger-like projections of a plant called salt sandspury, which is quite fun to say. In Korea it's called sable namol, and the scientific name is Spergularia marina. And so you can see it's clinging on to this quite harsh environment on this windswept rock. But the thing about this one is it's a really nice edible. They are tender, salty, fresh tasting greens, so you can eat them raw. You don't need to cook them, but the traditional way to do it in Korea is apparently with a red chili paste, some garlic, soy and ginger, and some scallions. So maybe substitute your some three-cornered leek there and eat the invading onion there. In the later on in the year, it will have this lovely little pinky purple flowers, quite small, and you might, if you're lucky, see some of the seed pods here. But for now, we're just going to pick a little bit as a garnish to go with our lunch. Try it.
So here we are, I'm with Ben and Matt, and they've got some amazing seaweed down here to tell you guys about. We're really lucky to have their knowledge in this video, because seaweed is one of my weak points. So Matt, let's get down and close. What have we got here?
Oh, so this one here, commonly known as lava or nori. So this is the seaweed you'd find for your sushi sheets. It's quite often overlooked because you'll look at a rock and it literally looks like an oil slick on the rock. So people will kind of give it a wide berth and not realise.
Even like an old bin bag.
Yeah, true, actually.
Or photo film.
Yeah. What would you do with that, Ben?
Cook it for a long time. Generally, I find that it breaks down nice and gives you a nice texture. And the awesome thing about that is obviously if you've given it, as always, give all seaweeds a very thorough clean. But the water that you strain out of that when you've cooked that, it's almost like soy sauce or like a meat stock, you know.
I'll give it that.
Incredibly tasty.
I don't know, you say give them a very lovely clean, but you've just been feeding me all of these.
Yeah. Well, you know, you've got a strong immune system.
And is that the lava that's used to make lava bread?
Yes.
Exactly.
What do you guys think of lava bread? Honest opinion.
Love it.
Oh, right.
Love it. But mixed with oats and then fried in bacon fat, you know, absolutely delicious with some cockles, or made into dips, whipped into mayonnaise. You know,
I've not had much of a
amazing.
chance to play with it. I don't find a lot around here.
No.
I've got to get down onto like the Lizard Peninsula. I find good patches down there.
Yeah. It's really high in glutamic acid and MSG, isn't it? In glutamate. So it's got a huge amount of umami.
Yeah.
As most seaweeds do. That's
And MSG's had such a bad press as well.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it at all. It's fine.
Yeah. And especially if you can get it from a natural source.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. So what else have we got here? This one's quite stands out as different.
These are awesome. Yeah. These we make capers with, which they're not terrifically impressive. I've found, at least, lots of people absolutely love them. But when you stick a few slices of lemon in with it, you get like a salty, lemony caper hit, which are absolutely delicious.
Cool,
This is egg rack.
Egg rack, right?
Egg rack, and this is on egg rack. You also find this truffle weed, mermaid's pubes, or rack siphon weed. A lot of people don't like the texture of it.
Yeah, I like the flavour. I struggle a bit with the texture of it.
Yeah. Again, it's another sort of truffly one. Perhaps not as truffly as pepper does, but absolutely beautiful. As I find all seaweeds, if you don't know what you're doing with it, powdered in as a seasoning, you can't really go wrong.
I thought that was that's a new one on me today, actually, and I thought that was quite lovely. To be honest, I've been a vegetarian for a while. I don't eat fish, and that brought that lovely flavour of fish back to me when I was nibbling that. I'm sure you could do something like a nice sort of surf and turf kind of thing.
Definitely, mushrooms and seaweed.
Yeah.
is a favoured vegetarian or vegan surf and turf combination that I like to do.
And then you could even go and little sort of blocks of tofu wrapped in some seaweed and then battered, and it's almost a bit like sort of having a bit of battered fish.
Nice.
You get that seafoody flavour from seaweeds as well. Yeah.
I'll have to try that.
Yeah.
People tend to think that the dulse is a bit bacony, don't they?
Yeah, I think that. I get a lot. So this is red dulse, and typically always growing off of other seaweeds like your kelps. So always down at the low tide mark and beyond. Serrated rack, you'll find it quite often serrated as well. I remember years ago start of seaweed walk, and one of my guests said, "Oh, we're going to find the bacon seaweed today," and I was like, "Yes, we are." And yeah, you get what I do find. You might find this as well with seaweeds. The flavour profile can really vary from like quite nearby patches.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've had the pepper dulse, which we'll do in a bit. I've had hints of chili from that, hints of garlic. It's the same with the red dulse. Sometimes the bacon flavour is not so apparent, so just move on, have a little munch and find a better patch. But infused in butter, little wicked butter with that. Dehydrated and again used as like flakes through food for that sort of sweet smoky bacon flavour.
How does the flavour differ from pepper dulse? Because I've got to say, out of every seaweed I've ever tried, pepper dulse is my favourite.
It's quite a unique one, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's nothing else going to be quite like pepper dulse. The dulse is one of the milder seaweeds, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not as strong as anything else, but it's really good at bringing out other flavours. It's very, very high in glutamic acid.
Yeah.
A great candidate for making dashi with. Super high in protein, so I'm really looking forward to experimenting with mixing that with some koji and making misos and things like that with that.
A good source of protein if you're on a vegetarian vegan diet.
Apparently, a very high amounts of protein in that. I think
good
it's
to know.
big survival food in Wales and Ireland
Well,
for years.
Welsh miners, lava bread was their breakfast, and unwittingly were getting extra vitamin D into their system from the seaweeds. So all that time down the mines was sort of like alleviated by having this with bacon for breakfast.
Oh, do you know what? Another thing that's really nice with that is when you've made it into the lava bread, when you've cooked it for 6 to 10 hours, something like that, and you've got your beautiful soy sauce sort of liquid as a beautiful byproduct there. When you've got that sort of puree, mix that into a salsa verde, and you've got that extra bit of umami from the salsa verde, and I find a really beautiful texture. Really quite traditional with lamb, actually, that one, especially with a sort of minty salsa verde.
I love this. I love when people get passionate about what we're talking about, and you guys obviously love this stuff.
There's changed my mind on this. I'm going to give this another go.
Oh, it's one of my favourites.
There's 3 more on here, so let's quickly run through those. What's this one back here?
Dumont's tubular weed. This is not often talked about. I was told about this by Mark Williams.
That's where I learned about it from.
Yeah,
as well.
and I think he got it from Monica Wilde.
Yeah.
But you don't really hear a lot of other people talking about it, so you've got them to thank for bringing that to my attention. And it's as seaweeds go, it's very delicate. It's not strong flavoured. It's quite mild, very tasty, crunchy. Doesn't want to be cooked a lot, actually.
What's that flavour?
It's got a little bit of the aroma that you get from the pepper dulse, I find.
There's something else going on. I can't put my finger on it, but
it's beautiful, isn't it?
there's nice umami.
Yeah, definitely.
There is.
Definitely.
I'd actually. Look, do you have to cook it? Is it
No, not
supposed
at
to
all.
be
Not
cooked?
at all. Wash it and put it in a salad. And
I would use that raw on top of like a stir fry or anything like that, just to add a nice little bit of.
Right at the end, throw it in. Yeah.
I know Mark tends to put them in little nests, dry it out, and then dust it in flour and dry and fry it.
Yeah.
It's a little crispy nest.
These guys are talking about Mark Williams from Galloway Wild Food. Hi, Mark. There you go. Nice name check for you. Right, these last 2 here before the dog bites my hand off.
This one, real favourite of mine. It's Japanese wireweed. It's non-native and invasive. So it's taking over rock pools and choking them out, basically taking up space and nutrients for other seaweeds.
Shouldn't be here.
Shouldn't be here. No, it's come over from bilge tanks in ships. We've got a few invasive species like that. But what I love to do with this, you've got these tiny little bladders on there. Those little pockets of air inside there. So what I do is I like to take this and just...
I want to try this as well. It's,
pull those bladders off of my teeth and crunch those. And it's like something like eating caviar. It's a salty, crunchy pop.
mild in flavour. It's quite mild compared to the other ones.
It's the texture I like with that one.
Definitely.
Those little pops,
Got a nice little crunch.
And you're doing the ocean a favour by eating it and ripping it out. And...
In this part of the world.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right, last one. We haven't talked about that.
Save the best to last, mate.
Absolutely.
Everyone's favourite. Oh, well, this will pretty much convince most people, I've found, of the delights of seaweed. Sometimes called sea truffle.
Yeah.
Truffle of the sea. Sometimes I get mixed up with, because that's Icelandic truffle sometimes. Mermaid's pubes.
I've also heard this called chef's crack.
Chef's crack, yeah, that's a very good one.
Come on, guys. This is a family channel.
It's Moorish. It's very Moorish. I mean, it can be dried, and it does preserve some of its flavour, but it's best. I've found my absolute favourite use of it is to simmer it up in a beurre blanc, in a butter sauce.
Yeah.
But you could just sprinkle it over things, couldn't you?
Eggs Benedict, really nice.
Oh
with some
yeah,
fresh
yeah.
pepper dulse on
And
there.
hollandaise or something.
Go on, tell everyone its common name, the one that we should all call it.
Pepper dulse.
Absolutely.
Did we not say that one?
No, we didn't say that one at the beginning. No,
Pepper dulse, yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I found out when I first learned that years ago and told my dad about it, he was saying to me, "Oh, that's what your nan picked as a kid." They couldn't afford salt and pepper. She grew up in Scotland, so she'd be sent out to pick that and dry it on the Arga in a little bowl on the table. And that was
like I
their
say,
salt and pepper seasoning.
It's not always pepper, is it?
No.
That one's got a little hint of pepper, but
Sometimes get little hints of garlic with it as well. It's just really variable from patch to patch. The flavour profile can really jump and change. Yeah.
There you go. Well, thank you very much, guys. This is Matt, and he's running courses down in Cornwall, and Ben is an up-and-coming chef. Where are you cooking at the moment? Where can we taste your food if we want to?
you can get into contact with me directly, and I do private events and things like that.
Yeah. How do we get in contact with you?
Facebook, Instagram.
Look up Ben Spice.
Yeah.
There you go. And how do we get in touch with you?
Cornish Wild Food.
There you are. Well, thanks very much, guys.
Pleasure. Nice.
Let's go and cook some of this.
Yes, absolutely.
Is that tasty, Rob?
Hi, I'm here to talk to you about a really special plant. It's in my favourite family. It used to be called Umbellifera family. It's now called Apiaceae family, which is a nice thing to say. And here we have one that grows on the coast. It's used to this salt-sprayed, harsh environment. We've got something called rock samphire. You might have heard of samphire or marsh samphire, which grows in muddy estuaries. We're not really going to be picking those partly because of pollution, but also because a lot of the estuary habitats are protected. In fact, this is the original samphire. The marsh samphire actually kind of stole its name. It was originally glasswort. But the reason that that sort of name ended up being confused and then stolen was because this was so popular at one point that the cliffs were stripped bare of it. People were abseiling down to pick it from really dangerous locations, and that's because they valued the flavour so much. Now, these days we don't tend to go in for such big flavours, so you might find this a little intimidating at first, but give it a go because it's an absolutely beautiful flavour. You've got these sort of almost like a white bloom on these thick fleshy leaves. Now coastal plants need these thick skinned fleshy leaves to help protect against the moisture, and these tender young tips. You can see it gets quite straggly and untidy at this time of the year. It is February, so it will bush out. This is quite a sheltered location for a Cornish cliff. So what you can see are the remnants of its flowers. It has these umbel-shaped flowers, which are sort of greeny yellow, and those will come out later in the year. The samphire is an interesting name, and it actually comes from Saint Peter, or Saint Pierre in French, the patron saint of fishes. And the reason that it's named after a saint, which is quite a prestigious thing, is because it only grows just above the sea line. So if you might think these days you might not need that information, but actually the number of tourists that get caught out by the tide times, they go for a nice walk and they realise they can't get back to land. If you climb to where the rock samphire is, you're going to be safe. You might have a long wait for the tide to go down, but you're going to be safe. And you can also imagine in the days of seafaring and fishing and sailing, there was this one story of this ship got wrecked and they climbed onto this rock, and they thought as the tide came up and up and up, they were climbing higher and higher, and they thought, oh, we're going to drown, maybe we should make a break for a different rock. But then they saw that there was the rock samphire, and they knew that they were going to be safe for the night. Cold, but safe. So this is really nice cooked or pickled, and you kind of want to use it with other strong, robust flavours. So it's not going to be that mild sweets, like almost like salty cucumber of the marsh samphire. It's going to be something quite unusual. So give this one a go. I love it. It's fantastic.
What's that one, Fabs?
Sea chamomile.
Oh, where's that? Show me that one.
It's right over here.
Tastes soapy.
There you
Okay.
go, tastes soapy.
Soapy. Right, this is one of those things, isn't it, where basically anything you find at the seaside, if it looks like an inland plant, just put sea in front of it and you've got the name of the plant, yeah?
Sea chamomile.
Exactly.
Fabio quite liked the mermaid's pubes, didn't he?
Have some good mermaids
Hey. Right, here we are. This is the mess that we at Wild Food UK make of the lovely Fiona's house after we've been foraging. We've got some hogweed, we've got some stinging nettles and some dandelions, which aren't things that we talked about today, but on top of that we've got all our seaweeds. and some wild garlic. You know, you can't go without wild garlic in February. And over here we've got Attila, Ben and Kerry, who seem to be in charge of the food. So what are we making?
So I'm doing 3 different vegan panna cottas with the Irish moss, which has got the gelling agent carrageenan in it. So here I've got hogweed, sweet woodruff and the earliest shoots of tansy. And then Ben's making us a ribboned kelp and tagliatelle, which we're going to add Fabio's. Well, let's ask Fabio what he's doing there, shall we?
Hey Fabio, what have you got over there?
Well, I've been rinsing some sea spaghetti. It's a seaweed, and it looks just like noodles. So I've just been rinsing them and breaking them into pieces, and we're going to cook it just like noodles.
And Ben, you're in charge of all this, so what's going on? Is it all going well as far as you're concerned?
Seems to be going pretty well. We're making a good mess.
Yes.
Yeah.
A good chef does make a good mess. I've found that in the past.
We haven't identified the kitchen porter yet. That's maybe the issue.
What is that?
Well, we've got a load of forages here, so
I don't know. From here, I can't quite tell.
cauliflower mushroom. That is Spiratus crispa.
Oh, is it really?
It is. It's one that had quite a large root on it. It's actually very, very meaty. It's made of really fantastic steaks. It almost looks a bit like tripe, that is.
How appealing.
Here, what are you doing with this?
This is going to be
mixed fry.
the tempura. There's another bit of hogweed there. I don't know if you want to use the last bit.
Oh yeah, I will do. I'm going to get to some nettles as well, so I'll grab that in a moment.
Okie dokie. Well, I'm just looking forward to eating it. So we'll see what it looks like in a little while. What you got there, Attila?
I have a Korean style of fish and seaweed broth.
Okay.
It's something quite similar than ramen, but it is developed in Jeju Island in Korea, and it has a really unique taste and culture behind it. So I just would like to show it to the meat eaters.
Not for me then.
Sorry for that.
Okay, fair enough.
In film for my
Yeah.
of black mustard.
Yeah, go on, Fabs.
I love a good mustard. I love this family, so let's go for it. They're
This
building
foraging
it up,
family
so-
or
Yeah, this
the
this
brassica?
the whole brassica family, the cabbage family, or the mustard family. I love a good cake, horseradish, watercress. So they're building it up. I hope it's good. So
There's always a pause with the mustard.
taste of wasabi. Oh, good wasabi cake. I'm gonna cry.
I
I love it. Yeah.
There's an actual sweetness to it, though, behind the punch to the face.
I love that itchiness in my brain.
I do love food that kicks me in the face.
This is like
That's
wasabi.
sort of what food
This
should
is
be.
exactly wasabi.
Takes us to the edge of existence.
Right, so me, Rob and Bonnie, well actually me and Rob have scoffed loads of this already. Bonnie's not tried any yet. Bonnie, would you like to try some of the deep fried nettles? You love nettles, don't you? You're going to have some?
I hate the pork.
Like crisps.
Yummy.
Careless.
That's a good word, I like yummy. What else have we got here?
Yes.
Go on Ben, tell us what we've got. We've got some pickled mushrooms.
Pickled cauliflower mushroom with some wild garlic and chopped up pepper dulse.
Okay, Bonnie won't try that.
bit of
I will,
yarrow.
though.
But there's
And
some
a bit of
primrose
yarrow and some
blossom in there as well. She
primrose
might eat a
Delicious.
primrose flower.
And then in the other nearly empty bowl, you've got some Dumont's tubular weed with a bit of pepper dulse and some. What else went in there?
You've got your rack capers in there.
Do you want to
Oh, yeah,
try
the
some
rack
of this,
capers in
Bonnie?
there.
Daddy loved this.
And it looks like there might be some slivered sorrel.
Delicious.
That's right. Sorry.
Slivered sorrel, yes.
That
That is
is
just sorrel slivered, not
outstanding.
type of
Oh,
sorrel.
no,
Really
The
outstanding.
reason that Marlo loves that one we worked out was the birch syrup, wasn't it?
Ah,
In the
yeah.
Dumont's tubular weed. Although you
It
worked
wasn't
out-
just that. I think that Dumont's
It's
tubular
awesome.
weed is really, really nice.
Yeah.
It's like a noodle.
We've also got some vegan aioli.
What's left of it?
What's left of it?
With wild
That's always
garlic
a good
and
sign
pepper
when the
dolls.
bowl is scraped clean.
Yeah.
You know it's good when
This
the bowl
is
is empty.
this is a mushroom ketchup made mainly with trompe de mort, and you're going to have to tell us what was in this lovely one.
It's
here.
homemade miso, pickled mushroom juices, pickled mushroom liquor. It had a little bit of the kelp shoyu and a tiny bit of the birch syrup.
Sensational.
There you
But that invention of the wild garlic and pepper dolls aioli has hands down been the winner, I think.
Well,
Yeah,
for
it's
me, this Jumon's tubular weed is absolutely outstanding. I've got really, since being a vegetarian, I've got really into Chinese food, into Oriental food, and that, if I got that from a takeaway, I'd be back at that takeaway probably 3 or 4 times a week. It was absolutely lovely. Do you want to try some?
What's the one?
This, well, this is pickled mushrooms, Bonnie. Do you want to try it?
What's that?
This one, that is, we'll get you a nettle,
Special ketchup.
and it's super ketchup. Do you want to try it?
No.
Okay, Daddy will eat it. Yum.
I reckon the Dumont's tubular weed might be one for Bonnie. That
Bonnie's a tough crowd to please, but this has been absolutely lovely so far, and this is just the first course. Go on then, Bonnie, tuck in. What we've got here is our sea spaghetti with aioli. I'll have the first bit. Or do you want some?
And kelp tagliatelle.
smoked mushrooms.
You want to taste it?
Yeah.
That's actually where you want the crispy stuff. Right?
Is that yummy?
Good.
No.
No, I think it's yummy. Sea spaghetti and aioli. Yes.
With smoked mushrooms.
We will just get.
So let's see what we have here. This is sea spaghetti and the sauce made with dried mushrooms and pepper dolls aioli.
Well, I like it. You're going to taste some? You did. Okay. Well, I'm going to finish the rest of this. Do you mind if I put you down while I do? There you go. Never work with children or animals. So that was it. That was Wild Food UK's February trip to the Cornish seaside. I do hope you enjoyed that video. Special thanks to Fiona for putting up with us all weekend, and to Matt Vernon from Cornish Wild Foods for his contribution, and Ben Spice. With a name like that, he had to be a chef really, didn't he? Who you can look up on Instagram and on Facebook for private events. Also big thanks to Kerry and Fabio and Rob and Attila and Eric for their contributions to the video. I'm really sorry you didn't get to see the panna cottas and the rest of the food that was made. I had to take Bonnie to bed basically, and by that point everyone else had had a bit too much Prosecco to do any filming. We will be running some coastal foraging courses. If you sign up to our mailing list on the website, you'll find out when they are. But that's it from me for now. If you liked the video, please give it a like, and I'll be back soon. Thank you very much.